Good morning, everyone. I hope you're all doing good today and you are ready to move forward with the next stage of our project, which is creating a short movie, especially the script of a short movie. And today, I hope you can focus more thanks to the psychedelic background behind me. I hope you are hypnotized now. It is important for you to focus because we are now going to talk about something which is quite technical. But I believe you are already familiar with what I'm now going to tell you, which is the three act structure. The three act structure is common in Hollywood movies today. Many movies follow this to the very details. And today, what I'm now going to show you is the further development of this structure, which goes back to the ancient Greek, by the way. And I believe you know this from your drama class, right? But now we are going to talk about the development of that 3x structure, and it's now called the 8 sequence set. Now, to make it clearer, let me show you what I have prepared for you. So, you know that the 3x structure consists of, first of all, the opening or the setup, and then another part called the confrontation. Sometimes people also call it the development, and it closes with a resolution. And this picture, in terms of the size, might not be representative because usually the setup is way shorter than this, and the confrontation is a bit longer than that, and resolution is also shorter. But this is just the easiest way to represent the division of the three parts, the three acts. Okay. Now, uh, this three act structure is common in cinemas, in feature movies, movies that is like what 90 minutes to 120 minutes long. Yeah, it is common, but it is also applied in short films. How can a short film have a three act structure? Well, you will see that further later. But now, before going to short films, I want to highlight a more detailed development of the three act structure into the so-called 8 sequence set or 8 sequence structure. In an 8 sequence structure, these three elements are divided further. So the setup is usually divided into two parts, and then the confrontation is divided further into four parts, and resolution is usually two parts. If you notice Hollywood movies, if you see a lot of Hollywood movies, you might have recognized this element soon. Now let me give you further details. Okay, for the setup, it's usually divided into two parts, and the first part is usually uh, showing who the main character is, and the second part will be about a potential for conflict, or this is also where the obsession or the goal of the character is presented. And then after you're done with the opening scene, such as if we take say Crazy Rich Asians, for example, this scene ends with uh, Rachel's and Nick's plan to go to Singapore. You know, in the bar where they talk to each other, and then somebody passes by taking a selfie, which also captures Nick and Rachel, and then sent to Singapore. That's when the second section here ends. Well, actually, the second section ends when Nick says, "What? Radio Asia or Radio One Asia?" When he looks at the two ladies walking out of the bar. Okay, so that's the first scene. Usually, it sets up what is going to happen, and it usually plans positive and negative things, which later on you can reap in the next part of the movie. Then comes the next part. This is where the conflict starts developing, and we know more about the conflict. But then there is uh, a fresh air, so to speak, which is called the fresh victory. After a problem, and then you will find this false victory in which the main character who has a problem realizes that actually it's not bad. There is a support somewhere. And in the case of Crazy Rich Asian, for example, false victory here happens when Rachel Chu and Nick meet Nick's grandma, and there the grandma seems to like Rachel Chu, right? So Rachel, which has been getting starting to get problems with Nick's status since the beginning of the third part, now feels like she has support. Although previously she has met Nick's mother, and Nick's mother doesn't seem to like her, right? Okay, so that is the fourth sequence, fourth part of the eighth sequence set. And then the conflict gets worse, and the tension of the story rises in the fifth sequence, and there is more truth revealed. And at the end, not at the end, and it gets very bad in the sixth part, which is usually called the rock bottom. In this section, you will find that um, the main character who is having a problem is in her worst situation or his worst situation. And this is when usually, our the audience feels empathy with the with the main character. And the audience will feel sorry for the character, will be crushed and hoping to have some release. And the release or the savior comes in the seventh section, which is the solution to the problem, or the resolution that makes the character feel helped, and the audience uh, feeling sympathy with the main character also feels relieved. And this is when people usually would cry, okay, in an emotional movie. In Crazy Rich Asian, the rock bottom happens when Rachel gets down because of the condition, because of the truth after truth that comes to her, and eventually she has to let go of Nick in the mahjong match with the mom. And but over there, she is crushed, she is down, she has let go of Nick, and but there is a potential for winning over there. Why or where? It's when Rachel says that, okay, if later on your son is happy with his wife and you're playing with your grandchildren, remember that it's because of me, someone poor, an immigrant, someone not rich, and so on. Now, the solution in it's the seventh sequence happens when Nick comes to the plane and proposes Rachel over there. And that's the most emotional scene. I believe you cried when you watched this part because that is in your fantasy. In romance, this is where the fantasy is fulfilled, right, after being crushed. And at the end, there's a resolution when everything gets back again to normal, when they go to party, when they laugh, and it ends with a positive note. So these are the eight sequence set of popular movie or most popular movies that Hollywood produces. And you can find this in most Hollywood movies, and you can uh, check whether I'm right or wrong here, okay? But mostly I'm right because that's this is what I learned from books, and this is what I learned from script writing classes. So yeah, that's right. And can we apply all this in a short? Because a short is a short movie. It's only 5 to 10 minutes. How can you crush everything into this? So my what I would suggest to you is that the 3x structure still works. However, the 8 structure here, you must cherry pick which one to focus on. Many short films are built upon tension. So it starts with a very low condition. It, I mean, the conflict, it starts with a conflict, and then the conflict gets bigger, and gets bigger. But at the end, you will have a resolution or where there's a plot twist and it ends with something shocking, something you don't know. But still, all of this has 3 structures. There's a setup, there's a middle or development, and there's a resolution. And the resolution in a short film is usually a plot twist. And now, what I wanted to highlight here is that it is good. You might, I mean, the false victory might not work in a short film because you cannot make the tension go up and down very often in a very short film. You might have from one conflict to another conflict, which is higher in tension but lower in the situation or the status of the character, and then you get to the rock bottom. There is usually a rock bottom still, but then you flip it to get a solution. That's what you can do in a short film. However, to achieve that, there are uh, things that you have to put in place. First of all, you can plant something at the beginning of the story. You can plant something good or you can plant something bad. Or you can put both. In the case of Crazy Rich Asians, for example, uh, there is one good thing, one positive thing that the scriptwriter plans at the beginning of the story, which is when Rachel plays what is it plays poker with someone in the classroom, and it shows basically that Rachel Chu is good at card games, and she knows about psychology, and she knows how people do things, or how people create, or how people think about things. And that is what the director plans, something good. But it can also be planting something bad, which is showing a potential of conflict. The bad thing later on you will reap or you can use during the conflicts that leads towards the rock bottom. In a short film, you can still use this. So you will use the negative thing that you planned at the beginning of the story. And the positive thing is what you will reap in the resolution of the story. This is also the reason why in the comments I gave you, uh, I told you that it is important for you to give indication of what comes later. If later on the main character will have to suffer, at the beginning, give some foreshadowing or some indication that, or some risk that something like that will happen. So when it happens, it becomes reasonable. It's logical. It's the logical consequence of what has been planted. And if the main character eventually wins or gets lucky or reaches a resolution, it's also because of something that you have planned ahead of time. So nothing comes all of a sudden. If something comes all of a sudden, well, it is possible. There's a Greek term for that. It's Deus ex machina, or the hand of God, God in the machine. So when something happens or there is a resolution to a conflict, immediately, without any what indication, without any signs, it will come. But in a short, I would not recommend that. Logical consequences is what, or causality is what you can rely on. So if you want to make a plot twist at the end, give an indication of what can cause that. If you want to give a strong conflict uh, somewhere in the middle, then you will also have to put something at the beginning of the movie that will grow into that conflict. All right. I think that's all I have to say, everyone. I hope it gives you a brief explanation of how you can develop your story later. As for the next stage of your story, I will give you further instruction in uh, on MS Teams. All right, guys. Thank you very much. Bye.